Welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple, the podcast for moms who want to go from chaos to calm, from overwhelmed to organized, and to find balance between family responsibilities and personal growth. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen. Let's make mom life simple. Hello and welcome to Mom's Life Made Simple. I'm your host, Chanel Nielsen, and I'm joined today by Ashley Levering. Ashley, so glad you're here.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, Ashley is so much fun. And I have had the privilege of working with her before, and I'm so glad to have her on the podcast. She is a mom, she is a coach, she is amazing. And I would love, Ashley, for you to start us off by just giving us a little more detailed information. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thanks. Sure. So, yeah, I'm a mom of two. I have a just turned 9-year-old and a 5-year-old. My son's 9, my daughter's 5, and I am a life and career coach. And being a mom, I always have to keep things organized. So, yeah, I was really fortunate to get to work with you, Chanel. I have an interesting lifestyle. My husband is a sports broadcaster. He is busy all year. So I'm always trying to stay above water.
Yeah. So, and in addition to just being busy all year, he travels quite a bit throughout the year.
He does. Yes. A lot of my life is, revolving around him being gone. So he travels. I think we put a number on it not that long ago. He does over 250, almost 250 events a year, and that's not including travel. So it's over half the year he's on an airplane going somewhere.
Yeah,
So
that
busy.
is a lot. So
Yeah.
requiring a lot from you to keep the home and family running smoothly. So
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So that is kind of what we're going to talk about today is just this balance, life balance in, mom life, because not only do you have a husband who's got a busy career, you have your own career and you've got these 2 kids at home. And I think a lot of us can relate. We've got a lot of things that we are juggling. So to start off, how do you prioritize based on all of the things that you need to do?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't really have much of a choice. I absolutely have to prioritize because I've tried it the other way before and it turned into chaos,
Mm.
and way too much stress. And no matter what I do, I'm always managing, some level of stress. So I really try and honestly simplify because I'm striving for balance all the time. So I prioritize based on what I need, what the kids need, and then whatever else after that. So I really just start my day with, what do I need? What do the kids need? And I go from there. And actually something I learned and like solidified from, working with you was, just to take like my top 3 things. And I really, truly try and do that every single day. And it's huge. And I cut myself off when the kids are in bed. I'm done. Like I'm off the clock or
Yes.
it's just too much. So I'm really careful with my energy because I've done it the wrong way before.
That's so good. It's so hard to do. And it's so good that you are doing that for yourself. And I love that in this list of priorities, you said it's what I need and what the kids need. But I love that you recognize it is what you need. It's so easy not to even do that, not to even say, to think about, okay, what is it that I need? In fact, moms often have a hard time figuring out where they fit in this, where they fit in all the things they need to do because of guilt. So how are you able to do that, to prioritize yourself while still taking care of family a lot of times as a single mom?
Well, it's helpful that I have a very painful memory of doing this all wrong. Honestly.
Pain is the best teacher, right?
Isn't it? So I think about that. The first thing I look at when I wake up in the morning, I have a dry erase board that's literally right in my eyesight, that says, take care of myself, to like remind me, because I do go back in time, on occasion and remember when I was a stay-at-home mom, which felt against my will because our life had changed so much. And I felt guilty if I did anything but what the kids needed. Or, at the time it was just my son when he was a baby. And I would roll out of bed and it'd be about him instantly. I'd go to bed and I'd still be thinking about him. And I thought I was supposed to do it that way. So I think doing it wrong for so long. And then once my daughter came, I was just maxed out. I was so stressed out. I had completely forgotten about me. And I had to learn, a route back to myself. And so now knowing what I've done, just try and I course correct. So I get out of bed and I think of me first, and the guilt is starting to fade a bit because I've seen what happens when I take care of me first. Everyone else is better. Everything else is better. So I'm like my own research project. I've just seen it work out better the more I tune in and take care of my needs.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. And thanks for keeping it real too, with the guilt has faded a bit, because I think that we sometimes can see like, oh, she doesn't feel any guilt at all. And she, it's over, it's done. And yet there is still, it still does come up. And what I hear you saying is it's fading through continuing to do it, through recognizing the results. And so talk to us about the results. Like, what does it look like when you do take the time for yourself versus when you don't?
Yeah, it's so obvious to me. If I get a good night's sleep, right? Like my energy is better, my mood is better. So it just completely translates for the next day, just for an example. But when I, get a workout, or when I have quiet time, I get overstimulated, like I'm an introverted extrovert. Like I'm very outgoing. I can put out energy like crazy. Like people, I don't know. It's one of my, the things I hear a lot is like, I love your energy, but then I have to conserve it. So if I put out energy all day long, and I give myself time to relax or read a book or reset, meditate, whatever it is to like quiet everything, it does. I can see it. I can feel it almost instantly. Maybe not, until the next day, but for the most part, I can always feel it. So I kind of gauge it on if I'm feeling anxious or if I'm feeling tired, if I'm feeling irritable. Like when I know those things are coming up, it means something I haven't done something to take care of me. When I upset my kids, I'm not really thinking and I upset them. I'm like, oh, wait, okay. And so then I'll have those moments with myself and a little check in, but I can always tell when I'm doing it right too. It's not just obvious when I miss something. I can feel it in my energy and how I carry myself and respond to all the things.
Yeah, that level of self-awareness is so important and hard to get to. And I think that comes in, you've trained as a coach, you have this training and this understanding, and the more that you get into some of just that understanding of yourself, the more you can reflect and see what's going on, which to me is why coaching is so valuable. We learn that skill and we are able to have that level of introspection. Now we've talked about, so you've got the whole family thing and you've got the whole self thing, and you also have a whole business that you're running, and that can get really busy as well. So how do you balance, all the things you want to do in your business without sacrificing your family in the process?
Yeah, that's a something I've had to learn too. Excuse me. So for me, and what works, and also what I'm kind of forced to do, is to plan around the kids and the family, because I'm the one parent who's constant in their life, right?
Yeah.
I knew from, early on when I started my business that I was going to have to be very intentional with how I spent my time on the business. So when the kids are at school, or when they're out of the house, or when they're having time with dad, or whatever it is, like that's my time to go work on the business. So they don't see me working. They don't, or rather escape up to my office, which is this amazing chair. They don't witness it. So, but that's on purpose, right? So that they know I'm working, they know I have a business, they ask me about it, I tell them about it. But for the most part, it's very calculated. My schedule is very specific to, when they're not needing me, truly. So when they're home, I'm with them. When they're not home, I'm working on the business, or taking care of myself.
Yeah. Are there ever times when that doesn't happen? When you're like, the best laid plans, right? It doesn't always work out like that. Are there ever times when your business does interfere with family life?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, even I tell myself and I tell my clients, like, life happens, like things are going to come up. There's been plenty of occasions where there's been someone sick downstairs and I've been upstairs trying to still squeeze in sessions. Or, I've had to get them babysitters, and, summer's a great example actually, because summer when they're home all the time,
Yeah.
which can be very overstimulating for a mostly solo parent. I will be very, like today is a work day, or this morning mom's working, and I'm very specific. So they get that part, right? So at school it's different, but during the summertime, I have established hours and I have an established babysitter, which truly I had to learn. I had to teach myself that that was okay, right? That I
Right.
can do that. But B, to get on an actual schedule where it wasn't like, I'll call you next week and let you know when I'm gonna like work. So
Yeah.
so for the sake of my clients and me, like it was just better. I finally got on this routine. So but yeah, I mean, there's definite crossover when they're around, but I try very intentionally to be available to them
Yeah.
when they're around.
So many pieces I love in there
Oh,
that,
sure.
just like this intention of this is who I am and who I want to be. I am a mom first. This is how I'm going to show up as a mom. And then my business is going to build around that. And I know from being in the same boat, it can be frustrating sometimes because you want to do things in your business like, oh my gosh, I could do this and I could do, and there's all this excitement and things you want to grow. And yet, when you're going back to what you said before, you're prioritizing like, okay, but my family, my kids are little now, my kids are in the home now. This is what matters to me. And so it has to, the business has to fit around that lifestyle. So I think that's awesome, hard to do, and awesome that you are making that your priority. And so I love this other piece that you talked about needing to plan in order to make that happen. Because right now the kids are in school, and yes, there's going to be days when they're homesick and you still have to work and things like that. But in the summer, how are you able, talk to us a little bit about what kind of planning that takes to make that happen in actuality?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So I have three calendars, for example, one that's obvious to everyone, and one that's, for me that I can share with my husband. And then I have one that's specific to work. So I try and stay as organized as I can, first of all. But I try and be proactive every week. On every Sunday, I do planning. Like my husband and I, if he's around, or even if he's not, we'll phone call and be like, what's happening this week? What does it look like? Um, and I'll make sure that I'm very intentional about, on this day, this is what I'm doing. And, oh, this is, if there's an activity for the kids, like I just try and look ahead. Whereas I hate being caught off guard. I always try and think of my future self. I love this concept. I like grabbed onto it and like haven't let go. But I think of my
Yeah.
future self and my future kids, like from Sunday to the next Sunday, like how is everyone going to get what they need, do what they need to do, and that my clients, get what they need from me, that I have signed up to deliver. So I really just try and get ahead of it, and everything everything goes on my calendar. And to the point where I'll even put in my day like rest, or you're off the clock. Like I will put reminders in there,
Yeah.
because otherwise I'll
That's
just
so
sleep away.
good. Yeah.
So I just have to be really intentional, because again, I've done it the wrong way before, where we didn't have an obvious calendar and my husband and I didn't talk through things. And when he's coming in and out, we have to be so proactive, because he'll come home and be like, let's have dinner. And I'm like, well, actually we have piano lessons. And then I have, a call, like, so I hate being caught
Yeah.
off guard. If I can get ahead of it, things shift. But as long as I'm planning Sunday for what's coming, and a little less guilt has been helpful, because that way I can schedule work hours, which I used to just schedule enough time for a little bit of admin and then all sessions, right? And I've shifted that now. It's like I need like 2 hours to just work on the business.
Right.
So I've entered in more of that too, even in the summer when the kids were around. If I had a babysitter scheduled, for example, and I had to cancellation or a shift in the schedule, I would still keep the babysitter, which me 5 years ago would have been like, oh, I have to cancel her immediately and I have to be there for the kids.
Yeah.
But now, right. But now I keep it and I make use of that time because I've already carved it out for myself, which
Yeah.
is
Okay.
helpful.
That's so good. And I love that you brought up the concept of future self. That's something we talk about on the podcast a lot and in Mom's Life Made Simple coaching. It's just so powerful. And I love how you're using this in real time of like,
Mhm.
okay, well, what is best that I do this week for my future next week self? Those decisions that we make for our future self are just so much better than the ones we make in the present. Because even to your example of, okay, your client canceled and the babysitter is coming, and you could just say, okay, never mind, no babysitter, I'm going to go down and be with the kids. But what is the future that's going to happen? Like, what is best for your future self? Well, the kids had a couple of hours without you, which is okay. Like they're going to be okay with a couple of hours without their mom.
Mhm.
And you're that much calmer. You're that much more prepared for next week. You have everything that you need in line so that you can really be with them when you're with them and not thinking like, oh, shoot, well, they're playing nicely now. I'm going to run out and go type on the computer for a few minutes because I didn't get that thing done. And really looking ahead to that future makes a difference in how you show up all week long. So I love that you
Yeah.
do that. That's so cool.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. I even do that during the day, like like random moments of like we've talked about this, like the kitchen sink,
Yeah.
like the kitchen, just cleaning it up before I take the kids up for bed because I come down and my future self like 30 minutes later is like, oh, this is so nice. So I'm doing
Right.
myself a favor. I try
That's
and do that.
same. That's been really good for me too, because in the moment, I want to procrastinate. I see whatever mess and I think,
Mm.
I just don't want to do that right now. But if I'm thinking like, what can I do for my future self? How will my future self feel when she walks into this loft and there's not papers all over the floor? She's going to feel so good. And you're doing something
Mhm.
for your future self. And so, yeah, it's a powerful concept.
It totally is. It's a game changer. And I
Yeah.
am pretty sure that's where I first grabbed onto that nugget was when we worked together. And then I've heard it since and I'm like, gosh, that really is what I'm doing. And so I just put a label on it. And now I'm even more intentional about it. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned that from Ben Hardy. He's got books about it. So good. So much good stuff to dive into with that. Now, I want to talk a little bit. You mentioned the energy, that you really feel the need to conserve your energy. So, with everything we've talked about, all of this, trying to balance family and self and home and business, how do you manage your energy and still have anything left?
Yes, that is my work in progress. But every time I tune in, I feel a difference. It's all in how I feel. So something that I teach, not, to others, like to clients of mine, but also like to myself, like I'm constantly trying to remind myself to have those moments of what do I need. And so often it comes down to, I need to not spend more energy. So I, I just try to have those moments with myself when it comes to how I schedule, and how I carry myself through the day. And, even with people, like if someone reaches out to me, which happens all the time, like I'm there for people. I'm here to serve. Like that is my thing. And people know that I'm available for that. But I have to be very aware of like, do I have the energy to this, to down to answering a text, answering a phone call, scheduling somebody. Like this has happened where I'm very careful with my time. I'm very like, now like this awareness is very helpful. Like if someone says, hey, do you have time for a session today or tomorrow or time for a talk or like a chat or whatever, I have to like pause, otherwise I will immediately be like, yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
instead I'm thinking, wait, what do I have energy for? Or I'll actually look at my calendar and be like, I'm doing all these things by 4 o'clock, what am I really going to have energy for? Not a whole lot, because I have to have it for my kids. So that's like my conservation, whatever. So if I'm piling myself up for the day, especially when my husband's on the road, and this is typically how I operate, is when he's not home. When he's home, I have a little more shared energy output, right? So I'm not quite as sensitive to it because I don't feel like I'm doing it all by myself. But because I
Yeah.
do so much on my own, even when the kids aren't home. I have
Yeah.
to really be thoughtful on that and say, wait, and so it's really just that internal conversation with myself, not just like on a Monday for Friday, but on a Monday, right? Like what's
Yeah.
happening on, this day, what do I have energy for? And I've even down to like the laundry. Like if I can get it out and get it folded, like I know that that's going to be all the energy I want to give. At that point, I'm going to set it aside knowing that it's going to have to get done another day, but that myself at that point needs to like stop spending energy. So
Yeah.
I think of it as like a currency, and I don't want to go into a deficit because then I'm not doing that thing that I, need to do, which is take care of me.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool way to think of that and to frame it is as a currency, because what kept coming to mind as you were talking is like you're budgeting your energy. There's this
Mm-hmm.
definite budget of, okay, I'm going to allocate this energy over here and this energy over here. And once it's spent, it's spent. So I think that that's really wise. I know that that's something I can be more intentional about is my energy. It's not a piece that I always look at. And so thank you for bringing that up, because sometimes it's just, I just go and I don't necessarily pay attention or tune in to how much energy is left in the tank. And, it's really important. It really matters. So I think that's good. Now, before we get to our last question, I want to make sure people know where they can find you, where they can learn more about you, work with you, talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. My business is called ABL Life Coaching. And actually, you can just type in ablifecoaching.com. I'm pretty active on Instagram at ABL Life Coaching and on LinkedIn a little bit, just because I do a bit more career coaching now than I used to. So that's more of what I'm dealing with. But that's where you can find me. I mean, I'm very active on Instagram. That's probably the best spot.
Perfect.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Awesome. We will link to that. And to finish off, we've talked a lot about this idea of balance today. How can balance make mom life simple?
Ooh, I love that question. I crave simplicity. And you know this about me. I crave it. I want
Yeah.
things to be easier, however possible. And balance, I feel like just goes with that very nicely, because when you find, with spending or not spending energy, the ability to have balance, even in, doing one thing, it keeps things more simple. So I just think they go really well together. So, for me, it's, yeah, how am I spending my energy? On what am I spending my energy? And if I can keep it simple, then I will therefore find some balance. And I also look at it as me and the rest, right? Like if me feels like I'm elevated and I'm doing all right, and then everybody else is doing fine, like there's some proof right there that I've got a little balance going on. So I look
Yeah.
for that, and it's helpful. It's my guide.
That's awesome. Well, thank you, Ashley, for all the things you've shared. So many good things in here. And you guys go check her out at ABL Life Coaching. And we will see you next time on Mom's Life Made Simple. Thanks for listening to Mom's Life Made Simple. Need some help making your mom life simple? I offer group coaching programs using my 4-step method called the Mom's Method. This is a process of manifestation, organization, mobilization, and simplification that will give you the balance, progress, and joy you're looking for. Visit ChanelNielsen.com or go to bit.ly/momlifebook to get your copy of my brand new book, Stop Putting Yourself Last. I love to hear from you, so reach out with your questions, your feedback, and let me know how I can help make your mom life simple.